Hey y'all, what's good? It's your girl, the Benji B. What you watching on TV? So tonight I am on It. Welcome to Derry. This is episode 6. We get into a little bit more of the history. So this episode opens up in Juniper Hill in 1935. There's a little girl asleep in a bed. A woman walks in who's one of the orderlies or one of the nurses, and she wakes her up. She takes her downstairs to a boiler room and she asks her about a clown. They see a red balloon that floats towards a doorway, and that's where we see our boy Pennywise step in and grab hold of the balloon. Now, after the intro runs, it takes us back to present day, which for them is 1966 or some shit. Will and Major, his dad, are back at home and they are into it. Major scolds Will for being down there in the sewer system. He basically tells him that he don't want him to have anything to do with this and he don't want him down there no more. He should have knew better, blah, blah, blah. Will rebels though. He basically tells him he's concerned about his friends and that he's not gonna stay out of it because he wouldn't let his friends die like his dad did. Major's feeling some kind of way because he slapped the shit out of Will, knocked his ass on that floor. Will gets upset, obviously. He get on his bike and he up out of there. As Will is riding through the town, they basically show us that there are a lot of missing children posters up. Some of them we recognize, some of them we don't. And then there's the wanted poster for Ronnie's dad. Halloran and Hanlon. Why did they make their names so damn similar? Hank Grogan. Jeez, why can't I remember that man's name? Anyway, there are a lot of missing posters that are in the town. A lot of the children that are missing. Some of them we recognize, some of them we don't. And then there's a wanted poster for Hank, Mr. Grogan, which is Ronnie's dad. That's kind of circulating around too. After that montage finishes, it settles on Ronnie. She's sitting there looking at one of the wanted posters with her dad on it. Now they're back at their hideout that's up in the tower, and Lily takes a shard to the other kids to show it to them. When she shows them this shard, she lets them know that this is basically how she got out of the sewer system. Whatever this thing is scared of it. Also reveals to them that she wants to go back down there to kill it. Ronnie basically tells Lily that she's crazy and that she has been crazy this whole damn time. The girls argue a little bit back and forth and Ronnie is over it, so she just runs out. Will is so cute because he runs after her. Now, Halloran gets back to the hideout. Remember, he was, where we left off, he was coming up out of the sewer system by himself. So he makes it back to the new off-base hideout that they have. And his friends have made a lot of progress. They got everything cleaned up. He just wants something to drink and some sleep. He approaches one of the back rooms to go in there and go to sleep. They basically tell him he can't go in there and they gotta talk to him first. This takes us back to Ronnie and Will. They've got a little distance from the tower. They walking down the street. Ronnie is just really stressed out and very concerned about her father, of course. But she does express a little bit of guilt with how she handled Lily back at the tower. And Will is so sweet. He just comforts her and kind of listens to her. This is where they have their first little embrace. So they have like this long, lingering little hug. And it actually looks like they're getting ready to kiss. Just as that happens though, Charlotte, Will's mom, she rides up in the car and she demands both of them to get in the car. Now we go back to the hideout where Halloran is. So as it turns out, his friends at the hideout have been stashing Hank Grogan. Halloran is clearly not happy about it. I think he wants as little to do with this shit as possible, and it shows. Charlotte actually comes in and she has the kids with her. So she's got Will with her and then she's got Ronnie with her, which this is a really sweet scene because this is where she actually reunites Ronnie with her father. As Will watches Ronnie reunite with her dad, he's pretty moved by it, and you can see where now he's kind of thinking about him and his dad. His mom, Charlotte, she reassures him that it'll be okay. Now, back to the tower where the kids usually hang out, right? So Rich and Margaret are up there. Margaret is up there and she's getting ready to redress her eye. Rich came up there, so he was up there to toss one of his planes off. Rich volunteers to help Margaret take the bandage off of her eye. And Margaret is very sensitive, obviously, like this is a horrific situation, and then her eye is looking really fucked up underneath the bandage, and so she's feeling some kind of way about it. But he's really sweet and very gentle with her, and she trusts him, so she lets him help her take the bandage off. Now, while all of this is going on, they're talking and they're going over the conversation that they had with Lily and Ronnie and Will a little bit earlier that day. Basically, they're kind of juggling the idea that Lily presented to them by going back down to the sewer system to get whatever this thing was, and she's got this magical shard. Feels like they decided it's a good idea. Margaret starts to get a little bit shy. By now the bandage is off of her eye. Margaret is feeling super ashamed, but Rich looks at it and he's telling her it's like the coolest thing he ever seen, which was really sweet. It's another sweet moment they have in between them, and so they really do validate each other, which we'll see a little bit more of that a little bit later on. But he asks her if she needs help redressing or putting a new bandage on. Of course she recoils a little bit. She's like, no, I got it. And he's like, no, but please let me do it. And she allows him to put it on. It's just really cute. They was really sweet. I like that part. Once he dresses her eye, he's done with that. He gets a chance now to toss his plane. So he tosses his plane. The camera actually follows the plane into the sewer system. The camera actually follows the plane into an underground hole. That takes us to where Halloran is actually resting. He's back on base. Now remember, back at the hideout, they're hiding this wanted fugitive and he don't want nothing to do with it. So basically he goes back to the base where he can try to get him some rest. We find him crouched on the floor next to the bed. Clearly he's gotten his hands on some liquor, and Major comes in to speak with him. Major actually just presents orders that they are to continue looking for what they're looking for, even though they lost a few men on that first mission. And poor Halloran, he's not with the shit. Like he's really over it. They have a lengthy conversation, and this is basically where Halloran reveals to him what his gift is. We also learn the significance of that box that the last episode ended with. So when he was a little kid, his grandmother basically gave him this technique he could use to keep from going crazy by seeing dead people. And the technique he used was to put all of those thoughts and all those things that he saw into this box in his mind. That helped him to compartmentalize his reality versus the one that exists within his reality. Now Major presses him more a little bit after this conversation about what he saw while he was down there in the sewer. So as they go over this conversation a little bit more, it's becoming more apparent how uncomfortable Halloran is with this gift and how much it actually tortures him to have it. However, Major don't give a damn. Basically, he instructs him that he is to use the gift until they done doing what they're doing, and he can put it back in his box when he get done. Halloran is extremely offended at the dismissiveness of Major. How dare he? Yeah, he's pissed and kicks him out of the room. Major can see that Halloran is not coming from a disrespectful place. He's traumatized, and you can tell he's in a lot of pain. So I think that part of it helps him to dismiss what he could have addressed with him in the moment, but he doesn't really address him directly. Basically, he tells him he needs to make up his mind. He presents an ultimatum. Keep the gift, do what we gotta do to finish this mission, or find yourself in handcuffs. Now we make it back to where Major and his family are now staying on base, and Charlotte is pissed off. Charlotte is pissed off about him, the way he handled Will. She does not appreciate him slapping him and knocking him down on the floor. And she actually reveals to him that she has Ronnie's dad stashed somewhere off base. She also lets him know that unless he makes things right with Will, she's actually going to be up out of there. It feels like she's going to leave and go back home, which I don't know how that's going to go over, because I don't think Will wants to go back home because now he got his friends. I don't know. They didn't really address all of that until late. We probably will address that later on. But she basically is telling him that she's wanting to leave and that she's not enjoying her time there in Derry, and that she is pissed off with the way he's been so rough with their son. Now this cuts to Lily, where she's sitting in class and she can hear Penny in her voice. Pennywise, that is. She can hear Penny in her voice, and he's basically telling her she's a great friend but a horrible daughter. Now this kind of leads her into one of her fear experiences where she sees her dad from the pickle jars. If you watched episode 2, she sees her dad as the pickle jar man in her desk. Now, also, she's got the shard with her in the class. So she sees him, she holds the shard, but apparently he's not really repelled, or he didn't respond any kind of way to the shard. So she freaks out in class, slams the desk down, screams, and runs out. Everybody like, what the fuck? Lily, the crazy girl, she's being crazy. Now this takes us to the lunchroom, or the cafeteria, where Rich and Margaret are having their little lunch together. As they sit down to eat, Rich lets her know that he was rummaging around in the basement or the attic or something, and he brings her an eye patch. Margaret looks like she's pretty moved by the gesture, and she takes it and she puts it on. This is where the patty cakes actually walk up to Margaret while she's sitting down eating with Rich, and they basically are wanting to know how she's feeling since Lily attacked her, and she did not miss a beat. She's like, Lily didn't do this to me. And this is where the girls, well, the main girl charges her to come back to their table. Well, why don't you come tell us about it at our table? Or are you going to sit here with the rest of the freaks? I think they made a racist comment. I feel like they called Rich Ricky Ricardo. Is that racist? Margaret is not here for the shit, so she jumps up, she snatches off the eye patch and is like, what, bitch? She kind of freaks the girls out. They start screaming, and she was like, I'm a freak too. And so she sits down. So basically they draw their little line in the sand. Margaret is not rocking with them anymore. So cut to the next scene. The kids are riding their bikes. They're with Will. Will is actually taking Rich and Margaret back to the hideout where Ronnie and her dad are. So this is where Lily actually goes. She takes her bike and then she goes to meet the nurse, Ingrid, to get some information or to talk to her. She gets to the house. She knocks on the door a couple times. Nobody comes to the door. The door is open, so she actually just kind of lets herself in. Well, as she's looking around the house, somehow she ends up upstairs. When she goes upstairs, she bumps into a photo album. In the photo album, she sees a man. In the photo album, she sees a picture of a man who strongly resembles this clown that she'd been seeing when she was like in the sewer and, you know, her visions. Just then, the nurse, Ingrid, pops up behind her. They have an exchange, and basically they're talking about what Lily discovered, the shard, and things like that. And she, the nurse that is, actually embraces Lily. As they're hugging, Lily sees a very clear shot across the room. She sees a picture, Pennywise, and she's like, she recognizes that picture for sure. No mistake about it. This is the person that she's been seeing. Lily, you can see the fear on her face. She's actually starting to kind of put two and two together. She's realizing now that Ingrid was the one that they were seeing at the cemetery and it was dressed in a clown outfit. But Ingrid is letting her know, hey, this is good news because you've awakened him. Apparently Pennywise was her father. So as Lily is piecing all this together, she basically is concerned whether or not this lady is going to hurt her. She's like, hey, are you going to hurt me? Ingrid assures her that she's not going to hurt her. She's definitely not going to hurt her. Lily's next. Now she's concerned about her friends because they're just as involved as she is. Ingrid makes no qualms about it. She's like, listen, I can't make no promises for your friends. So that freaks Lily out. She actually tries to get out. The nurse lunges for her and she actually cuts her with the shard on her way out the door. So we go back to the hideout. The kids are really trying to convince Ronnie to get on board with this going down there to fight the thing. Ronnie is like, hell no, I'm in here with my daddy. I'm not leaving my daddy's side until we know everything is straight. So they go back and forth over that a minute or two. Now we also cut to where Ronnie's dad wants to talk to Will. And it's so cute. I don't know. I felt like they were so young, but I digress. The father wants to talk to Will, and he basically is expressing that he likes Will and he just wanted to make sure, you know, that his daughter is okay if something were to happen to him. And so Will, he's like, nothing's gonna happen on my watch, sir. I was like, oh, he's so cute. He's a cute kid. They're adorable. All them kids are really good actors. Now, while Ronnie's dad, her, and Will are having their conversation, Margaret and Rich decide to kind of explore. So they go out here. I don't think they've been around this many black people before, so they just kind of looking around. They're watching the black people and dancing and all that kind of stuff. And they go over to the bartender and they say, well, I think I'm gonna have a Coke. So the bartender fixes them their drinks and brings them back and says, hey, this is an Air Force Coke. Did that man get him sugar alcohol? They take a few sips of their drink, and they can taste it. It tastes a little funny. We cut back to the bar. I guess this is like the town center bar where all of the people of the Caucasian persuasion tend to congregate. The police chief, apparently he has been demoted. I don't know that he's been completely fired. He was very evasive about that information. But he did get a clue as to where Grogan is located. So by now he knows where he is. So some lady called him and tipped him off. But he couldn't do nothing about it because he'd been stripped of his authority or something. So I'm like, did they fire you? Or like, why are we, like, what are we doing? Basically, the bottom line is that he lets everybody else know, all the dudes in the town, that he knows where this Grogan dude is. We cut back to the hideout where everybody is partying and they dancing and stuff like that. They didn't have a drummer. So by now, Rich and Margaret have had a little bit more of their Air Force Coke. And one of the guys is looking for somebody to play the drums for them for the rest of the night. And so Rich, he volunteers, and so he goes up there and he plays the drums. He and Margaret have their little moment where they're looking at each other. She's like looking at him do his thing, so she's like super impressed, and my girl, whatever. But they're really cute. Like, he's super cold on the drums, everybody partying, they dancing, they having a really good time. Now this is where we cut to the nurse. The nurse is at the crib and Ingrid is getting suited up. She's putting on her clown fit. She's getting ready to hit the town. And so then our final scene of the episode is where we are back at the hideout. I feel like a lot of jumping back and forth as I'm explaining this. But we're back at the hideout. One of Halloran's buddies is outside with a girl. He's flirting, he's trying to shoot his shot, and they smoking a cigarette. Well, while they're outside, you see a bunch of vehicles start to approach with the headlights on. So basically the good old boys have shown up. They get out, they have masks and lots of guns. And that concludes episode 6. All right, so episode 6. I have so many questions, right? I have not read the books. I will not read the books probably. So the show will be how I get the information. If this thing or this dude is the father of Ingrid, the nurse, is she feeding him? I don't know. I'm having a hard time connecting the dots on that so far. And I had already suspected it. Like I knew, like I said, I haven't read the books, but she just seems shady and like a little sketchy to me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, okay, now this bitch is related some kind of way. She's a part of whatever the fuckery going on in this town. She's definitely a part of it. So I smelled that coming a mile away. But even as we dive a little bit deeper into her role as being the daughter of this being who is Mr. Pennywise, I'm like, what would be the purpose? Like, why is she so excited that he's awake? Because all these people is getting ate up and they dying and shit. Although it could be that she's just hallucinating that this thing is her father, and maybe this is just who it manifests to be in her fear experience, although she embraces her fear experience as opposed to being afraid of it, and maybe it's not her father and it just in fact is the thing or whatever the thing is. I don't like the idea of Charlotte leaving. Now I'm pretty sure I can't see her actually getting to a point where she is able to leave town. I don't know how that would play out in the show, so I don't even think she's gonna get a chance to leave. But I don't like the idea of her leaving only because Will got his little friends there now. You know what I mean? Like, who wants to get friends and then leave them? You gotta move, and like not even moving down the street, but like going to a whole nother town. I'm not thrilled with that, so hopefully that doesn't go that way. And then finally, again with the references, I keep making references to Lovecraft Country. I just wonder, does anybody else see it? Does anybody else see it? Am I the only one that's feeling this? It's driving me nuts. Yeah, I will say, poor Halloran. And see, he can't even really just leave. What I was gonna say is I feel bad for him, the lack of empathy that people have. And that's something like in real life that people who are spiritual tend to experience. I've experienced this myself firsthand. I think that folks realize that if you are gifted in a particular area, especially when it has to do with something spiritual, two things. Number one, they feel like you should just do that shit for free, which is bizarre to me because an exchange of energy is what it is. I think it's so strange that people feel entitled to whatever gift it is that you have. That blows my mind every time. So that's the first thing. The second thing about it is that I think that there's a misconception that a lot of times those types of things can be controlled. That's not always the case. And so I say that to say that I'm very disappointed in how disconnected Major is, especially with him having some sort of working knowledge of spiritual practices with them being from the South. I was like, ew, like he's not. What's funny is when I first started watching this season, I was like, Halloran is a hater. I don't trust him. I have so switched perspectives on that now. I mean, it's not like I don't like Major. I think he's cool for what he's cool for, but I'm a lot more empathetic to Halloran because the weight that you carry in that type of position, I don't think people can really understand it, especially because you got to battle with the fact that a lot of people don't even believe in that shit no way. That's the first thing. The people who do believe it's possible, they want you to prove it all the time. And then the people that have proven it and they know that it's real and that it's possible and that you can do it, they want you to do it all the time. And I just don't think that people understand how much of a torturing situation that can be. But that really made me think really hard about just being a spiritual person. And it's interesting how, that's real for real life. People will use you how you let them use you. You got to put your foot down and maintain your boundaries. Now that's a little bit different if you're in the military, like you under orders, like you don't sign your life over to these dudes. So, I mean, you got to do what they tell you to do. You can't say shit no way. So that's got to be tough. Anyway, I digress. And then lastly, I want to make sure I'm real careful with how I say this next part, because I think that this country and this world is under tremendous pressure these days, and everybody is so racially conscious. It feels like it's the 1950s or 60s again. Like it's really a trip to me that we in 2025 and things are as racially charged as they are. Like shit wasn't as racially charged even when I was a kid, which ain't, I was gonna say, I was getting ready to say it's not that long ago, but it was a long time ago now. Like that, I'm really saddened, I think, by that shit, that people are so we're so conscious of it. And I would say myself included. Like I'm not in that category. I'm conscious of it more in my life now than I've ever been. And so I say that to say that the final scene, here's the thing I'll say I can understand why certain people in this world are fearful that others will begin to rebel. I think that they done did a lot of bullshit to folks that would really make people hate them. And so I think that there should probably be concern for rebellion, you know, because you can really only be mean and shitty and evil and abrasive and abusive, cold and savage toward people for so long before they be like, you know what, I don't really like that shit, you know. And so them pulling up and they had the guns and the masks and shit. When you discuss those types of moments, people will say that you're pulling the race card or it's an isolated incident. Shit, all I can say is, well, okay, you know what I'm saying? Like, the evidence shows different. But anyway, so we'll see how that plays out. So many thoughts on that, but I just, again, like, this is the whole recap and review thing, so I don't want to get into any of my deeply personal beliefs. I'm sure some of that shit will come out, you know, as I discuss certain things, but I just, to see cinema and like art reflect things that real people experience in their real lives and have lost family members and shit, you know what I mean, to like real things, and then like people in real life are like, no, you're overreacting, or it's not real, or, you know, like that fucks me up. It fucks me up. It blows my mind. So we were left with that scene. We did not get any action from our native auntie, Rose. We did not see any action from Mr. General. I suppose they're gonna hit us hard next week, and I want to know where Daniel is. I think Daniel got away from them, but did he get away from the thing? Because he didn't have a shard. Like, maybe he had, like, you know, cast a spell or something. I don't know. We'll see. So that's it. That's all. This was episode 6 of It. Welcome to Derry. That is all I have to say about that shit, y'all. I'm your girl, the Benji B. I'm finna go find me something else to watch on TV. Bye.